This video is about factorising using algebra. Now, the first thing that's important to know is what a factor is. A factor is a number that fits evenly inside any number. Okay, so for example, 16 has quite a few factors. 2 is a factor of 16, and 8 is a factor of 16. 4 is a factor of 16, and so is 4. So what that means is that we can times those two numbers together to get 16 as our answer. Okay, so we can times 4 by 4 and we get 16 as our answer. Okay, there are only two more factors for 16, but they don't actually help us that much in maths. The other factors of 16 are actually 1, which is everything is a factor of 1, and 16. Okay, so this number here has quite a few factors. Other numbers like 7, for example, only have the number 1 and the number 7 as its factors, and that makes that number a prime number. Okay, so this stuff here is really important for what we're about to do. In the last activity that you worked on, you saw questions like this, and you saw how to expand them. Now, expanding and factorising go hand in hand. They are the opposite of each other. Okay, so if you saw a question like this, you would be asked to expand it. Okay, which means you times everything inside these brackets by 2, as you learnt in the last video. Now, factorising is doing the exact opposite of that. Okay, so this is an example of an answer you would get after factorising something. Okay, so if we expand this out, we know that we go 2 times 5 plus 2 times a, which equals 10 plus 2a. Now, we know already that this is the expanded version. And this is the factorised version. Okay, so what will actually happen in the questions you're being asked to factorise is you'll actually get the question like this, and you'll be asked to make it look like this. Now, what's this got to do with factoring, you may ask? Let's have a look at that. Okay, so we have a question here that's asking us to factorise this question here. So we know that it's been expanded out from something. And what we need to do is find what it's been expanded out from. Okay, so first thing I have to do is I have to look at the numbers. 15 and 30. And I have to think of all of the numbers that go equally into both of those two numbers there. So 15, what times... Can anything times 1 be 15? Yep, so we know 1 and 15. What else goes into 15? Well, we know 3 and 5. Is there anything else? Without going into decimals, I don't think there is. So we know that the number 15 goes into 15. We know that the number 3 goes into 15. And we know the number 5 goes into 15. All of those numbers fit evenly without any remainders in 15. Let's have a look at that for 30. Okay, so in 30 we have 30 and 1. What else goes into 30? 3 and 10. We also have 15 and 2. Okay, is there anything else? No, I don't think there is without going to decimals. Okay, so what we want to find when we're factorising is the biggest possible number that fits evenly into both of these numbers. Now, first we're going to cross out the numbers that don't work. Now, the number 1 works for both of those, so we can tick that. The number 30, it doesn't go into both. Okay. The number 15, well, that goes in, doesn't it? And that's a pretty big number. The number 3 goes in. The number 5... Oh, there was another one for this. 5 and 6. Number 5 does, but the number 6 doesn't. The number 10 does not, and the number 2 does not, because they both, number 2 and number 10, do not fit evenly into 15. Okay, so what was the biggest number there? Yeah, it was 15. So 15 fits into 15, and 15 fits into 30. So let's take the 15 out of this. Okay, we know that that's the number that's going to go out the front. So we are taking the 15 out of that and putting it out the front. So 15 times. Now, in this spot here, we have to find a number that times us by 15, okay, times us by 15 to get the answer 15b. Okay, what times by 15 gives me 15b? It's b, that's right. Okay. Now, what times 15 gives me 30? So what number times 15 gives me 30? Well, if we go back over here, we know that it's 2, just by looking at our factor tree. Okay, so 2. Now, the beauty of doing factorising is that you can check your answer by expanding. So we can go back again and we can check that by saying 15 times b is 15b. 15 times 2 is 30. And that's how we have our answer. Let's do one more example just so that we can try something a little bit harder. Okay, so here we have a question that's a little bit harder than our last one. Our last one looked like this, and this one here looks like this. I wonder if you can actually see what the difference is. See why this one might be harder than this one. Alrighty. Well, if you looked enough, you might see that this R, okay, this R appears here twice, where this B only appears here once. So that might mean we have to do something with this R as well. Okay, so when you're doing the factorising, you can draw out the factor trees like this if you'd like to every time, but most of the time you'll be able to just look at the number and see what number you think comes out of it. Now you look at the smaller number out of these two and go, okay, does that smaller number fit into the other number? In this case, the 3 does fit into the 6, so we know that that can definitely come out. Okay, so we can go, we know 3 can go out the front. Okay, so we cross that out and that turns into a 2. Okay, and we know that we've got an R here. And remember this R squared here, this thing here, is just R times R. Okay, so we have R times R here. Okay, and we have 6 times R here. Okay, so if we take out one of the R's as well, inside the bracket, to get 3 times R, okay, which is what this whole thing is, 3 times R, okay, 3R times by R gives us 3R squared, okay, plus, what do we times by 3R to get 6R? Oh, look, we wrote it down earlier. It's a 2. Very good. So, 2. And again, we can check that by expanding it out. So 3R times R is 3R times R plus 3R times 2. Okay, and 3R times R is 3R squared plus 6R. Excellent, well done.